Well, hello gamers. I and the Ape King himself decided to react to the recent Bandai Namco's guide. Seems like the guys decided to ask FightinCowboy to create a PvP specific guide, which is something that we never had in any of the Souls games ever. Both I and G are wondering what they are actually cooking, since, you know, it is Bandai Namco, it is a publishing company, there is probably a reason why the PvP guide would appear on the channel in the first place, especially when nothing like that ever happened before. So yeah, I and G are going to react to the official PvP guide for beginners. Okay, let's get into it, yeah?
What is happening, y'all? My name is FightinCowboy, and today we're going to be talking about PvP in Elden Ring. Now, if you are a newcomer to the Souls franchise, PvP may still be something that you're unfamiliar with. You may have avoided it up until now, just not being sure, how it's going to be, going up against players that have obviously done something like this before. But when it really gets down to it, PvP is easily one of the most fun aspects of Elden Ring and the Souls franchise in general.
Thank you, Cowboy.
Like, I mean, he's not gonna say otherwise in the PvP guide.
I mean, he could not say that, which is great. He did, I guess.
It really brings something that a lot of other action RPGs just don't have. The idea of taking your character and all these powerful weapons and skills, and then facing off against others who have done the same. And it really does create a unique experience that's hard to really replicate outside of these games. So today we're going to be talking about PvP. We're going to be going into invasions and duels and the Coliseum. We'll talk a little bit about the meta and connectivity to other players. And all in all, hopefully after watching this video, y'all will go on out there and try it out yourselves. So to start, let's talk about the meta level and connectivity inside the game. For those that are unaware, there is connectivity between you and other players that is based upon your rune level as well as the upgrade level of your weapon. And what this does is it makes sure that when you are connecting for PvP and trying to find other players to play against, you're not over-leveled and you're not under-leveled. So in general, the community has something that's called a meta level. It's just kind of a level that players try to stick towards to make sure that we can find each other and always have people to play with. And this ranges from roughly 125 to 150. So you have
Man!
That's actually pretty good, though.
That's actually, except like I dubbed the guy because Cowboy might have his opinions. He's overall a good content creator, and that sounds good so far. He's just spitting facts.
I mean, it's a beginner's guide. Like, he's explaining the very, very basic level matchmaking for the newcomers, really, right?
That is correct. What is important is he's actually mentioning what is even meta level, which is also very important because a lot of people just over level through that 150 and they ended up on a 250. They want to try PvP, they cannot find activity, or their experience is very poor because of the balance on the higher levels of the brackets. Yeah, okay, let's continue.
Yeah, let's keep
going. A little bit of wiggle room depending on if you want to fit a little bit more into your build, but I think it's important to note that this is not a hard stop. And especially with invasions, you will find players ranging all the way from level 10 all the way up to 300 and beyond. There really is no one level that you're forced to be at, and when people talk about a meta level in the game, it's more just kind of a community agreed upon spot so we can find each other more frequently, not a hard rule. Now, while we're talking about connectivity, it's also worth mentioning that if you decide to use a multiplayer password, you do ignore the rules of connectivity, meaning a level 300 player could connect to a level 30 player with ease. But on the note of connectivity, let's talk about PvP, and in particular, let's talk about duels using the Duelist Furled Finger. Now, you can pick this item up quite early in the game. Just head on up north from the War Master's Shack, and right by the Limgrave Coliseum, you'll be able to find it lying on a body in front of the doors. Now, at this point, you can then go into the multiplayer menu and use the Duelist Furled Finger to put a red summon sign down on the ground, which you'll see me do in just a moment, and then any players who interact with that sign will summon you into their world for a one-on-one fight to the death.
That's kind of shame, he just, didn't jump on the new character to show this type of things.
Yeah, because that takes 2 seconds.
Yeah, I would say that kind of, well, it's not that important, though.
While there are no enforced rules in these duels, how there are in the Coliseum, it is commonly discouraged to use your red flask to heal in them, because the host will have double the amount of flasks as the duelist, giving them an unfair advantage. So, because of that, flask healing is frowned upon. Now, while you can use the Duelist Furled Finger wherever you want, one of the most common locations is over here at the main Academy Gate Grace in the Lakes of...
Uh-oh.
Does anyone play there anymore?
No, on PC,
I don't think on
empty
PlayStation,
place.
like, it's dead.
Yeah.
Like, there's no one.
Bug is non-existent anymore. Everyone is dueling on the arena. So yeah, this is actually outdated information. On top of that, this is something that Cowboy probably just is not aware of, because Cowboy is rather on the chill, casual side of gaming, rather than, you know, let's call it something more hardcore type. But I'm just gonna bring one of my videos just for the sake of to show the spot. This spot.
Wait, what are you showing here?
What I want to show is what is actual dwelling spots for many gamers that is considered relatively fair. And it is the... I'm light rolling here? Yeah, I think I'm trolling with the light roll build on the...
Yeah, stop.
Okay, stop. Okay, that being said, I'm gonna add it in the post-production. It is essentially a spot on the Stormvale Castle that is used for the sake of dueling. It gives not large but relatively decent flat ground that allows for somewhat of fair duels. And yeah,
It allows for cornering because of the walls, because
Yeah,
it's square
exactly.
as also.
yeah, it is basically square, so yeah, you can just corner people, unlike on Arena, for example, where you have absurd amount of space, so people that just can run forever. On this area, it is essentially not possible.
It's so that positioning matters. So like
Yeah.
if there's anyone like new that's gonna end up watching this, like it's so that positioning matters, where when you can put pressure your opponent, push them backward, then eventually they get cornered, and there's a very high chance that you're gonna get a much better punish off of that.
This is a very popular spot for duelists simply because it is a large, flat, and round area. So if you don't want to do duels in the Coliseum, this is a decent spot to find other people to go up against.
Also, if you enjoy 40 FPS gaming, this is actually a very good spot. I totally recommend.
And once you get over here, you would either use your fur-calling finger remedy to find red signs on the ground, or alternatively, you would put down the sign yourself and wait for somebody to pick it on up. Now, before we move on to invasions,
Actually, good point. Literally 0 signs. Like in the past, you used to have like 20 signs just sitting there casually waiting for your summons.
Yeah, before the Coliseum, there was. I mean, it was the spot before the Coliseum, but since it dropped, I have not seen a single sign there.
Yep.
Now, before we move on to invasions, I briefly want to touch on co-op, as co-op is what opens you up to invasions. Now, for those unaware, when you have a fur-calling finger remedy active, the first time you use it, it will then display any summon signs that are on the ground. Now, you'll find either gold signs, which are left by a tarnished furled finger, or the red signs that are left by the duelist's furled finger. Players can also use the small red effigy or the small golden effigy to send their signs to a nearby summoning pool, which is this little object you see right here. Typically, you will find clusters of signs on the ground around these, giving you opportunities for either duels or for cooperative play. In addition to that, just to touch on some other things in the multiplayer menu, we have the blue cipher ring and the white cipher ring. These are both purchased from the Twin Husks Maiden over at Round Table Hold, and the white cipher ring in particular is intended for players that don't really feel comfortable with PvP. When you're doing co-op, you effectively flick a switch that opens you up to invasions. There's no way for you to just play with a friend and not have the potential of invasions happening. But by using the white cipher ring, you make it so that even though you and your friend may not be comfortable with PvP, if you do get invaded, this will send out a call for help and summon a blue phantom who will come on into the world to assist you.
So that you can 3v1.
Alternatively, players have the option to put on the blue cipher ring themselves, and this will essentially make them a protector or a hunter who will then answer the calls of the white cipher rings and try to defend those hosts from reds. Just to show an example of this, in this clip here, I have gotten invaded by a red player. I also have the white cipher ring active. Now, as you can see, while it took a second, now it says Hunter Elenia has been summoned, and this signifies that a blue has now been summoned into this world to help me fight off this red invader. With the blue now arriving over to the fight, the tides have turned, and it is now a 2 versus 1, which will more than likely end poorly for the red. After vanquishing the invader, the blue receives a notification saying that the job is done, and at that point he'll return on over to his own world.
Man, sorry. I know we just talked about this, but like there is no incentive for that blue to be there in the first place. It's just such a miss. Like you see there, like he says, well, after it's done, the blue returns to his world, and that's it. And there's nothing else to it. It's so unfortunate. They really need to
Yeah.
give players an incentive to partake in these different PvP activities. Honestly.
Yeah, it's a good way to introduce people overall to the PvP. It's just sad, like the introduction is in the way that, oh, okay, I went to the world of that host, I helped him to kill the red bad man, and I got nothing for it. Wow,
Yeah.
I'm never going to do that again. That's pretty much very unfortunate thing. Let's hope that the oncoming patches are going to change it.
Just to touch on some other stuff before we get to invasions, the Finger Severer can be used to send a summoned player back to their own world. It's important to note this is only going to work for Tarnished or for Hunters. You cannot use this to send an invader back, or alternatively, if you want to lure invaders in, you can use the Taunter's Tongue. And with this active, you can pull invaders into the game to fight even if you are not engaging in co-op. Now, for invaders themselves, they have two different tools to choose from.
Oh, that's very little information on the Taunter's Tongue. Maybe for the better, considering the fact.
Oh, you were thinking about turning it off?
Yes.
Yeah, he probably knew, and he probably did not mention it on purpose.
I think like we can mention that it's like it actually does like a few things. It's not only about the ability to turn on PvP for the sake of to receive the solo invasions. How it is working, in fact, is first of all you need to use the
calling finger remedy.
Yeah, exactly. Like then you have to use the Taunter's Tongue. You cannot use the Taunter's Tongue straight away. So this is kind of unintuitive, but yeah, for the sake of to enable the solo invasions, you have to click two different items, which one of them is also a limited item in the meaning that it is a consumable. It is not only allowing for the solo invasions, it also completely removes the timer. So essentially, if you are playing in co-op with your friend, and the red bad man is going to invade your world, you are going to fight them, and you are going to kill them, then you have around 8 minutes timer, basically counting down. For the next 8 minutes, you are not going to receive another invasion. If you are going to enable Taunter's Tongue, this timer is gone. You can get invasion one after another. On top of that, the Taunter's Tongue can be enabled and disabled at any given moment, which is kind of unfortunate because that definitely not supposed to work that way. It's essentially Taunter's Tongue is the invitation for the red players to invade you over and over, and you are getting, because of that, essentially a priority in the matchmaking.
That's a good summary.
Yep.
From either the Bloody Finger or the Recusant Finger. Now, both of these effectively serve the same purpose. Both of them are invasion fingers. As far as we can tell, there is no range difference or really any difference besides the fact that you invade as a Bloody Finger versus invading as a Recusant. But there are quests associated to obtaining each of these. So if you do want to try your own hound out at invading, I'd suggest looking up those, as there is a little bit to them.
So I'm going to add upon it real quick. The fact we have two of these instead of one is very cool thing for one particular reason. The matchmaking in this game is working in the way that every 20 seconds you are sending a ping to the essentially a matchmaking list, let's call it that way, that you are searching for the invasion, and either you are instantly going to get match or not. So by having two of these fingers, you can interchangeably like use one finger and then second over and over. So you're using the first one, then second, then first one, then second, until the moment you're gonna get invasion. It allows you to essentially get matched faster, because instead of sending the ping once 20 seconds, you're sending the ping like once 5 seconds. So yeah, you have like 4 times more chances for the sake of to get a match.
Yeah, it's like you re-roll the dice faster.
Yep, exactly. Okay.
More than we can fit into the duration of this video. But on the note of invasions are definitely one of the more unique things about Elden Ring and the Souls games in general. And so to best showcase those, I have brought in our resident invasion expert, a long-standing member of the community, Peeve. So I have some footage from him where I'll show you guys that alongside some of his commentary, so you can get an idea of just how fun, or in some cases goofy, invasions can be.
So it's mentioned about Peeve is that he is mostly he has very interesting theme of the invasions of his, because he is not really doing like a self-improvement gaming that much. He is just kind of like a chilling with thematic builds. And this build of his is literally some sort of the shadow assassin edgelord with the bow and claws and so on, and it's, to be honest, whereas it might be not the super high level of display of skill or whatever, it is actually very enjoyable to watch. Look at him sneaking.
Ooh. Turns out I was right here. Okay, Chad. Let's try this again. I don't recommend what you just did. Maybe next time.
The edge. Jesus Christ, I cut myself, dude.
Fine. Oh, is that hard?
Big game.
Now, as you can see, invasions are quite a mixed bag, but maybe you want some more structured PvP, and that is where the newly added Coliseums come on into play. We have 3 Coliseums in the game right now: the Royal Coliseum in the capital, the Limgrave Coliseum, which is in Limgrave, and then the Caelid Coliseum over in Caelid. Now, briefly, just to talk about how to reach each of these, the Royal Coliseum is right here in the capital. All you really have to do to get on over here is just follow this path from the center of the capital. You will make your way up this platform as if you were heading on up to the Erdtree Sanctuary, but instead, right around here, you can veer on off and then climb your way on up into the Royal Coliseum. And you can do this both early or later in the game, so the state of the capital does not impact your ability to reach the Coliseum. Now, as for the Caelid Coliseum, this one is actually a little bit harder to reach, because to access it, you have to go underground first. So, over from the Shifra Riverwell, you would make your way on over to the below the well grace, and then right here is an elevator that you can take on up, and then you can follow this path all the way on up north until you reach the Caelid Coliseum, at which point you can then approach it and enter it similar to how we just did with the Royal one. The easiest to access we actually already went to earlier in this video, and that is the Limgrave Coliseum, which is just directly north of the War Master's Shack, and you can get this one extremely early in the game. Now, one of the nice things about the Coliseum is after you have visited each venue once, you're then able to enter Coliseum combat right here from the Round Table Hold by interacting with the America statue. Looking at it, we have 3 different types listed up above: duel, combat ordeals, and spirit ashes allowed. To go into each of these, the dueling combat format is initially unlocked from the Royal Coliseum. In this format, there are no red flasks allowed and no mixed physics. However, blue flasks are allowed to help both replenish your FP for weapon arts and, of course, allow casters to function. This is a straight-up 1v1 battle to the death. Moving on from there, we have Combat Ordeal and United Combat Ordeal. Now, these are both unlocked from the Limgrave Coliseum, and these allow you free-for-all combat with the Combat Ordeal format, or team-based combat with United Combat. In this case, it would be every man for himself, or with United Combat, 3v3, 2v2, or of course 1v1. Now, the last thing is the Spirit Ashes allowed, and this comes from the Caelid Coliseum, and this is going to follow the same rules as the Limgrave Coliseum, however, with the addition of Spirit Ashes also being allowed in the battle. So whether you want to have a makeshift pet battle with a friend, or you just want to have a giant every man for himself 6-person brawl with Spirit Ashes, either way, there is definitely a lot of flexibility in the Coliseum system. So we're going to take a look at a little bit of everything, just kind of show you how some matches go, and hopefully you enjoy it.
I'm just going to add to it that if you, for example, choose Caelid, then you can choose the other rules. You don't exactly have to use the Spirit Ashes on the Caelid area. I think he didn't mention that, if I am not...
Yeah. Also, I don't think he mentioned either that for the Spirit Ash, for the matchmaking to work properly, you have to consider the upgrade level of your Spirit Ash. So basically, you're not going to find much unless your Spirit Ash are fully upgraded.
Currently, the Spirit Ash matchmaking is dead.
It's also dead. Yeah.
Yes. People just like, this is the system behind it just doesn't work very well. Maybe it's gonna be reworked in the future. At the given moment, it is unfortunately not very good. And yeah, it actually shows in the activity, because yeah, at least on the PC, 2v2s are active, 1v1s are super active, 3 versus 3s are active, 6-man and 4-man brawl are also active. Not as much as the 1v1s, obviously, mostly because of the matchmaking in these games being done kind of not in the best way. It's basically the arena matchmaking is literally the invasions matchmaking slapped onto the arena, which has a lot of the negative consequences. You might have, for example, situation that you are looking for 6-man brawl. You want to have 6 people like fighting each other, but you actually have like a 12 players in the queue, and all of them are separated in different host lobbies instead of like being chosen into one pool and just like being matched together. So like this is kind of like the unfortunate thing about the arena at the given moment as of patch 1.08. Matchmaking sucks. It is not adjusted for the sake of to work well on the arena. We had even situation recently with my friend. We were dueling on the arena with the password, regular 1v1s, and we ended up few times in the situation that I became the host in the matchmaking, and he became host in the matchmaking. We were under the same pass. Yes, in 1v1. And because of that, we couldn't match with each other. One of us had to restart the queue for the sake of, so one of us would stop being the host and would start becoming the searcher. It's, yeah,
That's funny.
It's, yeah, the matchmaking at the given moment is, well, I would love to kind of use different words, but it is absolute fucking dog shit, and I hope like it's going to be changed. Because
I've had that happen a lot in 2v2s, but that's the first time I hear about the matchmaking doing that in 1v1s though.
Yeah, it's actually ridiculous. It happened to me in 1v1 plenty of times. It is very unfortunate. So, oh, it's set up!
Dude, Vike's fingerprint?
Yep.
I wonder when this was recorded.
I mean, like, it must be
go through my shield.
Must be 1.08, yeah?
Right, yeah, I mean, you're right.
It's just, like, very rare to see that setup, because fingerprint shield is, well, it's still, like, a greatest shield in the game.
Oh, man, and the shield finish. Ooh.
But the shield poke
is...
It's like nerf to the Oblivion, yeah?
Yeah.
It's another duel. The aim punch, you seen it?
Yeah, aim punch right there.
I was gonna back up. Oh, big hit there though.
Also, what is the build? Well, like, he has the mask that lowers his physical damage by like 5% in exchange for the Erkin stats.
No idea. He probably has the mask to reach the requirements for some of his spells that require arcane, and perhaps has minimal arcane or something.
Oh,
perhaps.
And the flaming strike takes the win.
Okay, 2v2s, it seems like, yeah? Or it is combat ordeal.
I think I got it. Oh god.
It's combat ordeal.
Dragon Man's coming after me.
It is like free for all, basically.
Oh god. Oh, come on. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. 30 seconds left. 30 seconds left. Oh! Oh, cease combat. I died right at the end, but I got 8 eliminations. Let's see. Hey, let's go. Unga bunga.
That's a great name.
About to
And
learn.
here are the ashes. It's 2v2 as well.
Compelling gameplay.
Well, at least he is representing how the real Elden Ring gameplay looks like. Wow.
This is honestly like one of my dirtiest setups, because you have the... Oh, no. No.
No way you put it in the video!
Yeah, no way you put that in the...
Why did you do that? Okay, listen. I give him points for authenticity. He's authentic at the very least.
Oh no. Anyway, you have the mimic casting Dragon Breath and you casting Dragon Breath, and oh boy.
I'm gonna be
it gets
honest,
rough.
I don't even know if they watched it. Like, if I don't know if anyone at Bandai actually watched it. I don't know, man. That's just weird, though. I don't know.
I know that like maybe they just wanted it to, you know, maybe they gave Cowboy a gig and
Yeah, of course they did.
and be
but
like,
it
just do it in your
didn't
way, yeah.
verify the footage. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Because I don't think you'd want, like, if you're Bandai, you'd you still want to show your game like to a good light, right? I mean, it's not even like, to be fair, like, I know it's quote unquote authentic, but I mean, most of the matches don't end up in a connection error. Let's be honest.
it's kind of
Anyway,
it's
just weird.
Yeah, I would say the video is lacking on different footage, like maybe too little of investment of time into actually making like these clips, and then it shows in the way that, you know, like a lot of PvP happening, unedited PvP for no particular reason. Like those are the moments where your viewer retention on this guide is just going to drop down
Drop
by
like
a lot.
crazy.
Yeah, because it's just not very interesting. Like people came for the guide and they see the gamer just standing still on the ledge and just waiting for the host to come onto the branch or something like that. I myself gonna edit it out in the video later on, yeah, but it's kind of shame to see it in the official guide because
He is going to get absolutely decimated, like right there. Oh, and you're also paying attention to my teammate? That's not a smart play. Oh, you got the magic off, but at what cost? Not the play at all. He's also failing his vigor check. He definitely needs more health.
I'm just going to mention something real quick because it seems like he completely didn't address it, which is quite important. How the refills works in the arena. Because yeah, this is essentially a system that might be a little bit confusing at first. In duels, you have no refills whatsoever because when one player dies, like the other one is simply winning. Yeah, GG. This is it. This is the end. Yeah. Then moving on to United Combat. In United Combat, you can play 1v1s, you can play 2v2s, and you can play 3v3s. In all of these modes, you have a timer of 5 minutes. When you're going to defeat an opponent, you are receiving a refill of your Crimson Flask and also the FP Flask. So yeah, like a health and mana flask. So yeah, essentially the person that gives the finishing blow has the reward in form of the refill. And this is how it essentially works, yeah, all across all the scenarios. So that is 1v1, 2v2, 3v3. When it comes to the combat ordeal, which is like a all-on-all gaming, it essentially works a little bit differently. You are starting with the health flask and FP flask, but once you're gonna use them, you are not going to have any refills until the moment you are going to die. Instead, upon the elimination, if you are going to apply the finishing blow on the opponent, if you are not a leader in the arena, if you do not have the highest amount of the kills, you are going to automatically receive a HP refill to full. So yeah, like these arenas essentially have a different ways to refill your HP, your mana, and so on. Which yeah, I guess is important to mention. I think it wasn't. Was it, or did I just say that pointlessly? It was included in the video. I don't think it was included. Yeah. I think
some of it, but not most of what you said. Some of it was, but not most of it.
Okay.
Claire Moore in your chat mentioned something important. He says that they should have at least given this beginner's guide, they should have given new players at least an idea of what your stats should look like. Because, after watching this, these people still have no idea how to make a PvP build. They don't, like, for instance, a lot of players in this footage had no vigor, right? So it would have been nice to mention, you should stop at 60, you should have 60 vigor or something like that. Because he talks about the level being 125 to 150. But there's no, like, mention of, like, little tips and tricks, as it's still a guide on how to make your build.
I guess that would be a good idea to, yeah, like you don't have to go into details. Yet again, it's not really the guide focusing on the builds, more like on how the PvP overall looks like. But there is like few fundamental things that you're supposed to do before you engage into the PvP. One of them is indeed the amount of vigor that you have, which is like 60. Another thing is that you're not supposed to use sorceals, which is very important. PvP in this game has very fast time to kill. And when a lot of weapons have very powerful blows, the additional debuff in form of the 15% of additional damage that you are receiving is detrimental. God forbid you are actually going to have 2 of them, for an example, yeah? Then you basically have no defenses whatsoever. I guess like I'm gonna link in the description of the video important resources. Like, let me actually show it.
Yeah, because I think some of the stuff you just mentioned, for instance, like the damage being high, like this is sort of the type of information I think would have been great in a beginner's guide, like just informing player of like the type of damage that there is in this game, right? Like how a lot of Ash of War can one-shot or two-shot, or it can one-shot if you don't have enough vigor. Like sort of that basic stuff that, you know, all of us PvPers know about since we've already been playing for a year, but might not be as obvious to newcomers, but still important things to know.
What I'm definitely going to implement is this. It is the lexicon, PvP lexicon made by Eisenwave, where he explains a lot of the wordings that we were using in this video as well. And yeah, you have a lot of the information on how the game works, like even like literally how the base defenses works, like, and so on. Yeah, the explanation of the terms, like for example empty jumps and so on, explanation of like how the iframes working, like, and so on, motion values. Yeah, like basically this doc is something that you can always refer to when...
Definitely not a guide for beginners.
Oh, but let's assume you have a situation that you are a new player and someone drops you the freaking...
Dude, do you realize how long this document is?
Well, you don't have to read it all, yeah? But yeah, let's say someone like drops you the message in form of, man, I just had the most passive gameplay ever I have seen. I got aim punched into the block cancel and then I decided to chip damage the guy, so like he tried to empty jump me, but I frame trapped him and then I free aimed him, and you know, you got the point. Yeah, the wording can be confusing in the Souls games, so I think like having access to something like that, just like having a possibility to check, okay, what the fuck they just talking to me about? Do they insult me perhaps? Like, you know, it's something that, you know, it's worth to have, I would say.
Yeah, it's absolutely worth to have. It's just, I don't think this is geared toward beginner. It's more like players that already are playing, you know, that they understand a bit of what's going on. I think for a beginner, they should... if they want to know something, I think it's going to be better for them to maybe go in a stream or Discord and ask people around for stuff.
Maybe we can just quickly mention, I think like
this is a good tool. Yeah.
So this is essentially EIP.gg build planner. It's one of the better planners currently available. If you're going to look here, if you're gonna go above 41 vigor, there is gonna be information that you hit a soft cap. This means the benefit this stat provides will diminish per point spent after 40, and this is
so I
true.
should not be above 40.
So like that doesn't mean that. Essentially that is true. Your benefits out of the leveling up vigor are the highest till the level 40, the attribute level 40, but you want to go to 60. The reason for that is because 60 is another it goes red, as you can see. It's basically is like the last soft cap, and 60 is absolutely fine. It gives you 1900 HP. And this is the amount that allows you to survive like a lot of the hardest blows in the game. If you are going to jump in PvP with 40 and you have 1450, you might end up in situation that you're gonna get one-shotted. That's why it is kind of a standard to go on vigor of 60. You can always like go for like 49, 48, something like that, but
58. You said 48.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, 58. So, like, essentially, essentially you want to be in this range rather than anything less. It was tested, it is confirmed that it is a value that allows you to basically survive in PvP. The rest of the stats, it really depends. I guess like in the post-production I'm gonna drop some sort of the infographic maybe about the soft caps. There is like the another very important stat in the game is poise. I'm gonna drop the infographic of yours in there because yeah, you have like a pretty good one. But yeah, like there is a lot of the stats that you have to pay attention to, but for the sake of to understand all of that, I guess it is just worth to look onto different videos. There is Chrightt, for example, like one of the content creators that going into details about overall way how the game works, like explains the soft caps, explains like the difference between weapons, how they work, like the frame data and so on. A lot of the information that is also presented in the way that is quite interesting. Yeah, it is basically the Elden Ring science channel, let's call it that way. Besides that...
I don't think I would say Chrightt is geared toward beginners though.
Yeah, that's
just like the sheet you sent. Like I think those things are more for not advanced players, but just for normal PvP players who have gotten into PvP already and they want to know more.
Yeah, someone that is already like engaged, yeah, into the thing, kind of. Yeah, I don't know, to be honest. Like we don't really have like much of the beginners guides, yeah.
Oh, this is it.
This is
the beginner's
This is the beginner's guide. So yeah, like what we could add, like the 60 vigor, the rest you can figure out on your own, and you're gonna figure it out like during the time of playing the game, I guess. Yeah,
I think also saying that you don't need as much mind as you might think. So it might be best to keep mind for like a bit of spare points, not putting all your points into mind. Going to be better to have offense over mind most of the time.
All right, let's maybe finish this video because we actually didn't. We have still like 1 minute to go.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Thunder Thrusts is going to take it. So to close things on out, I'd like to say that hopefully after watching this, if you were a little hesitant on PvP, I hope that you decide to try it on out. Because whether you are dueling, invading, or jumping into the Coliseum, PvP is definitely a absolutely fantastic part of Elden Ring and Souls games in general. And I think this video was a fantastic showcase of the variety of builds you're going to come across. Anything that you can think up of in your mind, you can use it in that arena. And at the end of the day, as long as you're having fun, that is what counts. So thanks for tuning in. Hopefully this inspires some of you to go on out there and join the battle. And I'll see you out there in the Coliseum.
Well,
okay. There's one thing I want to talk about that I feel is most important out of this vid. It's its existence, right? Why did they decide to make a beginner's guide for PvP all of a sudden? Do you think they're hinting at something? Do you think that they have something else in plan?
I mean, they are cooking.
Let them cook, bro.
Let them cook. That's actually the thing that is here for sure, is that they are cooking, and they are cooking quite some recently. Those are, for example, non-public builds. So essentially, like someone is gaming there. Someone is currently like testing. Yeah, on the 7th and 8th March, we had like another like uploads to the Steam database, like with the non-public builds that are not titled or anything, which is not unusual because Bandai Namco or From Software, I have no idea who is managing Elden Ring on Steam. Well, they very rarely add the actual title of the update that they are actually applying. Like for example, this is the Arena update 1.08. Sorry, no, this is the hotfix. This is the update.
Hotfix.
But essentially, they are clearly cooking. Something is going on. Patch probably closer than further. The question is what it is going to be. Yeah, like the fact we have the PvP beginners, like it is a company. It is not like they just like randomly thought like, man,
this is not just an average content creator here who just decides to upload stuff on a whim because he feels like it.
Yeah, there is a reason behind it. The question is what type of reason and what we are going to see in the future. It's great to see it though. It gives quite some hopes.
It's good to see that it's not a beginner's guide to Elden Ring. It's a beginner's guide to PvP in Elden Ring.
Yep, exactly. That is quite cool. I cannot wait to see what the future is going to bring.
Now, about the vid, I like the fact that we're getting this. I don't think FightinCowboy was the wrong person, but I do think that the vid is a bit lackluster. I don't think, like, if I'm a new player after watching this, I am more informed than I initially was, but I don't think I'm informed enough. I think there was a lot more that could have been shown there.
That is correct. I think Fighting Cowboy is great fit for the host, but Jesus fucking Christ that someone else said it. Cowboy, he has like great way of, let's call it, making the one-shot content. Yeah, he knows how to do that, but one-shot content cannot work in this format. Definitely someone else supposed to take care of the editing. I think it could be like a way better if someone just like would make the recordings for the video, if there would be like more of a script, I guess, and they, like, it would be in the collaboration with other people, because yeah, it's, as you say, like the video kind of lackluster here and there. It just doesn't have enough information.
I just feel like this should have been held to a higher standard,
Yes.
because this is not just your average like PvP vid, or it's literally the first time ever there's an official like PvP guide like coming from Bandai or FromSoft. So I don't think this does it justice.
At
It's
least,
better than nothing,
yeah.
and that we like that it's a thing being done, right?
let's hope that what we did over here like is going to bring some light up on things that were not explained enough in the guide as well, because yeah, we went out of our way to kind of not only react to what we see, but also enrich the information presented in the video.